Welcome to episode 3 of the new series called The Startup. It goes into a little bit of detail on the third application we're exploring called CRS. Hope you enjoy it. There is no intro to this third series or episode. We dive right into CRS, or Contact Retrieval Solutions, which is our third idea that we talk about.
But there's another thing I wanted to chat with you about, and that is this. I don't know whether I ever showed this to you, but this problem we have today, and so this is number 3. Let's say this is number 3 out of the 4 or 5, and we don't have to talk about the other 2 right now, but this is something I brought to somebody's attention the other day. I built this a while ago, and then I mothballed it, and I said, this is what I'm thinking of. And they said, you should drop everything and just focus on this for the rest of your life. And the only thing I said to this person was, everybody has a single problem. And she goes, what's that? I said, it's that everybody uses their email as their filing cabinet. Everybody uses their email to find documents and to find information. And and it's entirely frustrating. Nobody has a way around that. Nobody has a good CRM. And she's like, well, how do you solve that? And I said, well, I already built it. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I built an application where you have everything in your cloud and your CRM on your desktop is only rendering it. In your cloud, you have the ability to then attach any piece of information on any subject and send it to anybody. And you're the master of that contact or that group. Once you've sent it, if you update any piece of information, it's now in their cloud. You've sent it up to your cloud. You pulled it from your cloud. You sent it to their cloud, and now it's replicated down into their CRM. It's replicated in Outlook or Salesforce or whatever.
It was just the lead system where you get a cut if that person converts for a business or something.
No. So this problem actually eliminates the whole concept of a single point of reference for a particular contact or group. And it allows you to instantly have already built in updated information about any company or any group or any contact or any person that you have ever expressed an interest in or communicated with. You have that at your fingertips. You don't have to go through years of emails or weeks of emails. You don't have to look at anything. It's all right there. And I'll show you how it works in the simplest form. And this was working until I mothballed it. In the simplest form, you have this, you receive an email. It all starts with either sending an email or receiving an email. And interestingly, I'm sorry, I'll show you on the screen. And I'm gonna get rid of these subtitles. Screen, use preview by title and show. I don't know how to, okay, here we go. So there's, this is an old Outlook, Microsoft Outlook, and you'll recognize this. So I've attached a group and I've attached a contact. And this is it's called CRS. It's a stupid name. But now, if I click on the group 2 right there, it brings up what's being shared with me. This is the group that's being shared with me, group 2. And there's 4 contacts in there. Each contact has a bunch of data and a bunch of files attached to it. See those files? MP3 files, JPEG files, PDFs, whatever it is, attached to that contact. But I'm being shared the group. I just click download all checked or add to my CRS, and it adds that entire group. Now that entire group now is being managed by the person that sent it to me. And it could be 6 months from now where they update a file, but I have that file present in my CRS application, which is then recorded in my Outlook or anything else. So I've just clicked on that Jack Black, that contact over here, and there's the files that are downloaded into Outlook. And anytime that master is altered, it changes my Outlook. So that master of Jack Black could have been shared with 35,000 other people. And the minute that the master's changed, or the second the master's changed, it repopulates everybody who's accepted that contact or that group. And it repopulates it with new data. So you always have
like a cloud contact system, but like it's agnostic of the application or the email
agnostic of the application.
So you can have, that's what Google does, right? Like that they let you manage groups and stuff, but I don't know if you could use it easily.
so you can have you have a widget to add these icons to a website. So now you're bringing your website to life. It's no longer an online brochure, but it's actually a live piece of content that's living in whoever is asked for that information to be sent to them and to be updated.
Okay.
So I visit this website once, and that's the only time I ever need to visit it, because now I'm tethered to the William J. von Liebig Foundation, and I have it all in my CRM. I've got everything about the William J. von Liebig or any piece of information that I want. I just bring it right into my cloud by clicking on it. And the same thing works with this is how it works, blah, blah, blah. Here's my CRS application. So here's my dashboard in the cloud. And those are some of the groups that I've added. Some of them I've created myself. Some of them have been shared with me. I obviously own the master of whatever contacts I own the master of, but somebody else owns the master. And I could have 3,000 people owning 300,000 different contacts with 500,000 pieces of information all in my cloud. And it's all run by all these different masters. And my files are
Like,
always
is there
current.
an aspect of these things like cross updating? So let's say if you have the same contact as I have,
Yeah, but
is there any,
what defines the same contact, Tij? Because the same
like the
contact,
person, it's the same number
no,
person, right?
yeah, but you have to define what defines the same contact. Is it their email address? Is it their last name? Is it their physical address? Is it
I
their
mean, I'm
website?
talking about the actual person. Maybe it's the same. So anyhow, like, what I would ask, just for my own understanding. So what was
Mhm.
the original problem you went out to solve with this?
The problem was the initial problem was sharing information with people without restriction and having that information current. Impossible.
Like in the world of sales?
No, in the world of everybody, whether you're running an organization and you want information distributed out to clients and out to prospects, or whether you're receiving information and you need that information from websites and from companies and from people and from groups, and you want it all current. Your CRM today does not do that. Your file directory, your file system does not do that. It keeps, a random order of files by date in your file directory. This keeps everything up to date, everything in your life. It can be personal stuff, but mostly it's business stuff. Mostly it has to do
Oh,
with,
I understand. I understand now. Okay, so it's more of a personal CRM.
it's a
Uh,
personal CRM for anybody that's a business owner or anybody that's a sole operator or anybody, that's operating in any business. You could have 5 businesses going, but it doesn't matter because you're tethered to and linked to owners and masters of contacts and groups of contacts. You're tethered and linked to owners of websites and owners of
okay.
businesses. And you're permanently, until you sever it, you can sever the tether, and then you still have the information that's been sent to you, but it just is not constantly updated now, right? And so you have all of these connections with everybody, and you're giving them permission to update their information, which is coming over and it's staying in your cloud or it's dropping down into your CRM or your file system, whatever you want. It's completely agnostic. So you, again, how many people in your CRM? I've got at least 5,000 people, right? Half of them are dead for that matter. And they've sent me information files over the last years. I've received 16 terabytes worth of information from these people. And it's all now in Dropbox, it's all in Google Drive, it's all in iCloud, it's all in my CRM, it's all disorganized. My life is completely chaotic with the number of people I've come in contact with and the businesses I've come in contact with. And I have
Yeah.
no current information, not even on the stuff that I'm working on a daily basis. I constantly struggle with trying to keep, the versions fresh. I don't know which versions. It's ridiculous
Okay.
how significant this could be as a life changer. So it's automatically updating everything that's been shared with you. And so you just constantly are getting the new files. You can ask it to limit the amount of files that you brought in. You can do whatever you want with it. And you got this floating toolbar concept. So it's completely agnostic. It works with any CRM, any email application, or any file system.
Yeah.
So the other thing I did was here's IBM on the left. This is their
Yeah.
directory of worldwide contacts. You see that? Africa, Americas, and on the right. And by the way, if you click into one of these, you get their entire office. You get who, all the people in it. You get their email addresses. You get their phone numbers. That's what IBM wants to send to you. They want to send to you everything. And so you, as a client of IBM, you're like, oh, I want to stay in touch with these guys in South Africa. I want to stay in touch with Anguilla. I want to stay in, and you click on this, and it automatically pulls these right into your cloud, and then it constantly keeps them updated. So anytime IBM makes a change on their website, you're getting the change represented in your cloud and your CRM. You don't never have to go back to their website. The same thing you can do with search engines. Same thing, which is you add the CRS icon to the search, and no longer do you even need to click into the website. You're clicking on the CRS icon, and the CRS icon is bringing all that information into your cloud, and then you determine what you want to move from your cloud into your system, and it's updated automatically.
Okay.
So I built it, I patented it, and then I mothballed the thing. I did.
End of slideshow.
End of slideshow. Exactly.
Very relevant slide. No, I think
I'm passionate about it, and I apologize for my passion, but I mean, listen, I'm no stranger to these things, and I know that that's a big deal. Like, it was really easy to develop, actually, but it was also to imagine. Let me see, CRS.
Yeah.
To imagine actually doing this and putting it out there. It's not the technology. You know, you and I could build this technology in the next month. We could build this, right? And it could be a lot prettier than what we built here. I built it. It took me 3 months to build it with some programmers overseas, and it looks old now. So you turn it into something that looked good. Now, convincing the world to use it is a different story, because convincing people to add it to their email.
That's where it comes down. Like you have to bring people into that problem space, right? Like, how many people actually struggle with filing in email? If you would look at that population, you're going to probably find a lot of professionals do that, right? Like, they're using a lot of email. It's mostly the segment it applies to are people that were professionals or business, so somebody who's operating out of the business, right? Now, if I go into a business, this would be a hard sell for large enterprises because of the jurisdiction those companies have, right? So you're probably going to be left with that small, this one group of small business owners who are looking for an easy way, who don't have the time to actually learn a CRM, and you can turn their inbox into a CRM where, like, if they want to say new idea, the problem you could solve is, like, when you are the CEO and you have a new idea and you want to reach out to your investor, right? What you're saying is, in your email, you could just say idea to investors, and then you start typing up the thing, and you just want to work on the idea. You don't want to waste any time finding the investor and something like because you already did that homework. Now your system is letting you do this, and then once you've sent it, it's all filed. So investor number one got this email from you. You can set up a follow-up mechanism in there for them and things like that. Like, I think it's a very, compared to the other two problems, it's a fairly micro level to those, right?
I disagree with you here, because I think that again, my friend said, if you could solve this problem, it's a $50 billion idea. And what it is it's a ubiquitous CRM that keeps everybody up to date with every information, any piece of information that's ever been sent. So it's a one point of access. Everybody's looking for that golden contact. Have you ever heard of that? The golden rule, the golden one. I don't know how people put it, but they all talk about that. I want that one point. I want to be able to type in Tij Bedi. Now, everything that I've ever done with Tij Bedi is right there for me.
Yep.
Every email that's been sent, every piece of documentation he's ever shared with me, everything about his current role, his LinkedIn profile, it's all shared with me. It's all updated automatically with APIs, but it's also all updated based on when I received the information. So it organizes it all for me, and I've got everything current. So if you update your CV, if you update a document that you wrote and you sent, and you've replaced that document in your cloud, everybody that you've ever shared that document with now has received a current version of that. And that's kind of cool, because if you change your way of thinking about something, if you add a team member to somebody, now everybody receives the new document with a new team, and they get notified that something new has been added by Tij Bedi. And I may not have interacted with you for 9 months, but I now have everything current and anything that we've done together. So it's not micro at all in terms of the ubiquity of this, in terms of the need for
I
this.
mean, it was comparatively, but comparatively to the other two problems you showed.
Well, here's the problem.
Like
Here's the problem with it.
size.
Here's the problem with it. It's so big an idea, and it's so needed by so many people. You can run the risk of developing it, and you're solving the one part of the problem, but you're not solving the right problem to start with. Are you starting with email, or should you be starting with file sharing? Should you be starting with notifications of updates? Because you're sort of, there's so much to it. It's so big. And I started with the email concept, and then I want to move it over to the websites, and then everybody, and then the search engines. I thought those 3 categories were interesting, but to get a search engine to embrace this technology and buy into it, it's probably 5 years down the road. Any type of search engine. To get a website to buy into it.
You mean the integration?
The integration. Well, all they have to do is integrate an app, and it comes. Imagine this. You're looking for a lumber company, or you're looking for an architect, a lumber company, and you want to you type in lumber in Dayton, Ohio, and it comes up with your typical search results 1 through 3,600. Number 1 doesn't include a CRS icon. Number 2 does, and that means they've embraced this technology. Click on the CRS icon, and without everything going on behind the scenes, you now have their entire online brochure. You've got their entire website. You've got all the president. You've got all the salespeople. You've got all that information now stored in your cloud, and now on your CRM. So you no longer have to do any sort of updating. So the problem is big. It's just that I wouldn't know where to start with it, because the technology is easy.
The elevator pitch version of this is missing right now. That's what I did not
clearly.
I think I think the elevator pitch, whatever version of this can fit into an elevator pitch where the exact,
problem.
like the problem, right?
Yeah.
Because that will help you. That won't just help solve your design. It would also help you. That will be the starting point, right? Do you start in the search engine? Do you start in the email? Do you start in the Google Drive? Where do you start? I think that because I think I think the thing that I am sort of struggling with here is most CRMs do this in their own universe. They do this in their own universe, right? So no, Outlook doesn't, but like, let's say if you were using Salesforce or Sugar CRM, those systems would do this, where once you start using a contact, they start linking everything. So these systems are designed where every entity is linkable to other entity. That's what you're talking about, right? So there's a document, and then there's an email, which is a contact, and then there's an email itself, and then there could be notes, there could be calls, there could be meetings, right? So what these guys allow you to do is you can link whatever you want. Of course, you have to design it. It's not out of the box. They might just link like emails to contacts and things like that. It's doable. But I think, again, that's just the process side of things. Like for you, I think the problem, that's why I'm saying the elevator pitch, right? The problem, well, like, what is the problem it's going to solve for me, right? It could be easily as find all the documents that you have sent to Jeff, right? That's one problem statement you're trying to solve, and it'll do it for you. And maybe that's what it is. Like, it just scans your, install this extension, and then everything you use, just, link your accounts, and then it will collate everything for you. So that when you click on Jeff, you can say you have sent 20,000 emails. These are the documents. These are what you received. These are the iMessages. These are the images. This is how many times you've gone to his house. This time he's coming here. Like, that's what you're talking about, right? Like, so that's one problem that you could solve. And then how many people how many times do people find themselves doing that? That could be one, right? The second could be, something more repetitive that's happening on a weekly basis or something. So if you think of it that way, what that thing would be weekly, preferably daily, but weekly would work too. If you could find that, then you got some legs that you can apply a version of this to, right? Because I think what you talked about is the foundational aspect of it, and that makes sense. The foundational aspect is that everything is linked to back to a contact, and then or everything is entity of its own and it's all interlinked and you have this information. It seemed like towards the end you also said it's also linked towards like big data, where I know that Jeff also searches or has watched these movies or something, and they could help you. So that would be immensely helpful too. I think maybe the place where it becomes immediately applicable would be in the sales world. Like if you took a version of the CRS, Jeff, and you attached it to smarter sales, it might be a massive opportunity there, because that's what it does,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what you're trying to do with smarter sales, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking, Tij, because my latest iteration of smarter sales, I was thinking, how do I even make it better? And I create a CRM out of it, and I add one element of the CRM to it.
Yeah.
And what you want is you want the client attached to the company, and you want that bond to be inseparable. You want them to be getting regular stuff. And so I've always imagined any client, asset management or other places, having a dashboard that was available to them with all of their service providers. And so they would then be able to be in constant contact with and see what updates and all of that. So instead of having to go to this website and read through those emails, they have a dashboard available to them of their key service providers, including the key asset managers who are managing their money. And that's an interesting concept. It's huge. But the problem is, then does everybody have their own little dashboard? Because then you have mini websites basically being available to
my
clients.
My concern with this idea would be, Jeff, that this field, in terms of technology, there's so many players in here that your entry point would have to be like here, because the expectation, it's like building a new phone these days, right? You cannot go outside without four lenses in the back now, and fingerprint and face recognition, because people were like, okay, like let's say if you had a new idea to put 4 SIM cards in a phone, the other 520 things that the phone does have to be there, otherwise people won't even won't be interested. So the CRM world, that's how it is, because of Salesforce and all these other players in the game right now. What you could potentially look at is an extension that fits into those worlds that can solve a problem. But anyhow, I think, to sort of bring this to a close, I think the most interesting idea out of these 3 that is enticing to me is still Lead Me. Like, that's personally my opinion. I think it's the most
I go back
easiest
to it
to test
all the time.
It's got that platform aspect to it, where you're just enabling the demand and the demand and supply, and that's about it, right? People want to sell their homes. These guys want to sell people want to get rid of their homes. These guys want to help you get rid of your homes. You just connect the best 2 outcomes or scenarios together, and it works. I think we should take that and do something with it.
I think we could do something with it. All roads point to real estate. In my other part of the life that's not associated with technology, all roads point to real estate as well, in my private equity business. So it's really interesting. I can't move away from it. I've got to become more and more intimate with real estate and real estate tech and prop tech. And I've got to, we're doing some big transactions on the private equity side that wouldn't be appropriate for this technology. But, one reason why it sounds so compelling is because I built it, I tested it, and I know the elevator pitch, okay, backwards and forwards. So we have to recognize that it's familiar to me. I'm so passionate about it because it's I built it. But we shouldn't mistake passion and enthusiasm and familiarity with business opportunity. And what I mean by that is I tried to raise money for this through my own channels, and it was tough because I wanted to raise between $1 million and $2 million. It actually needed $3 million. And I priced it out to build the tech, to build the team, to roll it out to a couple jurisdictions. And and I didn't get any buyers in terms of the economics. And why? I think I was caught in that space of mediocrity. And I wasn't making $10 million and I didn't have 10 million people using it. I was a sole operator making $500,000 a year, grinding it out, building the tech at night, delivering the tech during the day. I had a very average salesperson doing cold calls for me. And I wasn't doing all the right digital marketing. I wasn't doing all of the right lead acquisitions and conversions. I wasn't doing all the right web marketing and online marketing, and I didn't have the right people. So it was really elementary. And so I was caught in that space where I wasn't making enough money to be really interesting to some of the bigger funding sources, but I wasn't making no money. Sometimes it's easier to sell a dream than it is actually $1 million in revenues. I got to tell you, it's like, how much money are you making? Well, I made $1 million last year. Okay, call me when there's 20. You know, call.
Yeah,
It's like, what do I have to do?
people.
I showed you there's revenues here.
No, I think it's like, again, like I have become a believer in this, that you got to find people who can relate to the problem, because you know it's the intersection of these two sets: people who believe in the problem and then they have money. Like,
True.
It's not easy to find. These circles are usually over here, so
finding
them close in.
You're absolutely right. Okay, so I've got to run. I got dinner to go to, but let's pick up the conversation again on Lead Me. I'll give you an update this week on where it's going, if anywhere, with this group in Canada. I'll try to make some progress there. And then I still know that the person you met, my good friend Jim Randall, he's still interested in funding something on the real estate side. He wants to create sort of a portal. He would fund Lead Me, by the way. If we brought in some other partners, he would come in as well. And he wants like 10% of the company. So, but it would require something between where we are today and ultimately being a fundable event. I think we would need to associate. Probably the best thing to do is associate with an agency and get somebody else to back it first, back the bigger picture, and then we could actually fund the technology. And I could get a budget going for that. So, but it's complicated. It's a really complicated build. When I say usually the technology is the easy part and the rollout's the hard part, in this case, the technology is pretty difficult because you're dealing with intellectual property, licensing issues. You're dealing with licensed salespeople versus non-licensed, and the National Association of Realtors, which is a very, very large industry association. You're dealing with being a threat to some people versus being a sort of accretive to their business and supportive of their business. So you want to make sure it's complicated, but complicated means there's a lot of opportunity in some cases, and I think that's the case here. It's not easily replicable. I couldn't just build an app and just go out and do it.
Well, that's a good thing. It's never a bad thing. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, buddy. Hey, man.
We'll
talking to you.
Talk next week.
Okay, buddy.
Have a good one.
See you.